In typical shonen storytelling, we often follow the journey of the underdog, the character who struggles, evolves, and ultimately triumphs. Think of Deku from My Hero Academia or Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. They don't start off the story as the strongest and have to go through many trials and tribulations in order to achieve their goals. It's a trope as old as time, but it works nonetheless. But what happens when we shift our focus to those who have already reached their peak from the beginning? What allure do they hold? While it is inspiring to watch a protagonist overcome obstacles, there's a unique thrill in witnessing a character who easily dominates their world. These types of characters bring a refreshing dynamic to the narrative, offering a different kind of escapism and excitement. And it's even better when the character isn't shackled by the narrative restraints that a protagonist is bound to. Introducing my favorite genre of character, the overpowered side character. Let's begin with the most fundamental aspect, power. We consume various forms of media, whether it be movies, TV shows, anime, or manga. They're all an escape from the mundane challenges and hardships of daily life. And sometimes, after a really bad day, or heck, even a bad week, it's more enjoyable to just turn off your brain and indulge in the thrill of seeing a character who dominates with sheer, overwhelming power, rather than it is to see a protagonist suffer. Overpowered side characters embody a power fantasy that allows viewers to envision themselves as invincible, tapping into a primal desire for strength and control. Gojo Satoru, with his near godlike abilities and confident demeanor, exemplifies this perfectly. His effortless victories and playful arrogance are not just entertaining, they're a form of wish fulfillment. These characters allow us to imagine a world where challenges are easily overcome and victory is assured. In our ordinary lives, we may face constraints and struggles, but this type of character offers an exhilarating escape. They indulge our deepest desire for power, making the impossible feel attainable. In a sense, they provide a sanctuary where we can momentarily forget our human limitations and bask in the glory of feeling invincible. Another aspect of their appeal is their no-care attitude, a trait granted by their overwhelming strength. Take Benimaru from Fire Force for example. Benimaru follows the beat of his own drum, disregarding authority and doing things his own way. He doesn't have to fear the repercussions of not listening to the higher-ups and breaking regulation. If the laws in place go against his ideals and beliefs, then he'll burn right through them. Gojo again is another prime example. The ideologies held by the Jujutsu higher-ups go completely against his own mantra, and as a result, he blatantly ignores and disrespects their orders. This is seen in his decision to side with both Yuta and Yuji when given the order to execute the two kids. Hell, Gojo is even strong enough to slaughter the entire council of Jujutsu elders. It's just his own benevolence and beliefs that keeps him from doing so. This rebellious independence is captivating because it represents a freedom that most of us crave but rarely experience. I'm sure most of us have had frustrating experiences with managers or superiors. How many times have you wished you could tell your boss off at work, but can't because you have bills to pay and a hairy four-legged child to feed? You know the meme where it says, you can sit however you want when you're the strongest? Well, these guys personify that. Benimaru's and Gojo's strength allows for them to operate outside the constraints that bind others, making them the ultimate symbol of freedom. This autonomy, combined with their formidable abilities, makes them aspirational figures. They don't just survive, they thrive on their own terms. So this whole time, I've been talking about how these characters inspire us in real life, but let's not forget the effects they have on their own universe as well. These types of characters usually represent a pillar of strength for those around them and are someone that others look to for leadership. Despite Benimaru's overwhelming power usually resulting in the destruction of his surroundings, the people of Asakusa love him and regard him as their hero. They see him as an unstoppable force of power and are able to feel at peace because of his undying loyalty to Asakusa. Ironically, it's their unshakable belief that Benimaru is unbeatable that made it so terrifying when an evil doppelganger of his later showed up. However, it's because of Benimaru that the people of Asakusa are able to bring themselves to their feet regardless of whatever calamity they face. Sinbad from Magi the Labyrinth is another great example. He's so powerful and charismatic that he was able to rise from the lowly origins of being the son of a poor sailor to eventually becoming the ruler of his own country. His undeniable strength garnered him the loyalty of representatives from 6 different powerful countries who would do anything he commands. Sinbad's presence is so influential that it shapes the political landscape of the world within Magi. His power and vision for a united world brings together nations and peoples who would otherwise remain divided. His character transforms the very fabric of his world. Now, I want to talk about why I think having an overpowered side character rather than a protagonist makes the story so much more interesting. Having an overpowered main character might make the story too predictable or short. Usually, it's a rinse and repeat cycle where they run into an adversary, the adversary is hyped up to be stronger than the last one, and then they get one-tapped all the same. However, placing such characters in supporting roles strikes a perfect balance. They can serve as mentors, goals, or even obstacles for the main characters. Gojo, for instance, acts as a benchmark for both the sorcerers and curses in Jujutsu Kaisen. His birth radically changed the world and elevated the levels of friends and foes alike. His power and wisdom set a standard for the good guys to aspire to, providing both inspiration and a sense of scale to the challenges they face. And then Sinbad offers a different twist. His overwhelming power and strategic mind makes him a formidable figure whose ambitions and actions shape the world around him. Though he starts as an ally, his complex motives and incredible abilities eventually place him at odds with the protagonist, creating an intense conflict that drives the narrative forward. Also, an overpowered side character often lacks the plot armor that a main character possesses, which adds a layer of tension and unpredictability to the story. Since they aren't the protagonist, their defeat is always a possibility, keeping audiences on the edge. Watching how authors navigate the challenge of defeating such strong characters without undermining their status is always such a fun experience. For example, when Gojo fights, it's always a treat to see how Gege comes up with creative ways for the villains to bypass his infinity. This vulnerability, despite their overwhelming power, makes these characters compelling and keeps the stakes high. The last thing I want to mention is how easy it is to mess up this type of character. Not every overpowered character can reach the height of popularity like the characters I mentioned in this video. There's a fine line between writing a captivating, powerful character and a walking plot device. I think what's important to remember when writing these types of characters is that they can have flaws despite their incredible strength. Despite his immense power, Gojo grapples with a deep sense of isolation. His strength sets him apart, making it hard for him to deeply connect with others. This loneliness is a subtle yet profound flaw that adds depth to his character. Sinbad, on the other hand, faces a different kind of challenge. His journey from a humble sailor's son to a ruler of his own nation is marked by incredible achievements and victories. However, his growing power and influence led him to develop a god complex. Sinbad starts to see himself as infallible, believing that his vision is the only path to a better world. It's these chinks in their otherwise impenetrable armor that makes these characters so interesting. Ultimately, overpowered side characters enrich the story in ways that an overpowered main character may not be able to. They offer a glimpse of peak power while maintaining narrative tension and complexity. They embody traits we admire without overshadowing the protagonist's growth and journey. Whether they're mentors, benchmarks, or wildcards, their presence elevates the story and keeps us coming back for more. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of anime and manga. Until next time, peace.